Alrighty, everyone, if you've got a question for offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach Rhett Lashlee, please use the hand raise function on Zoom. And coach, we're going to start with David Lake from 24/7 Sports today. David, go ahead.
Hey, coach. Want to ask you about just your thoughts on the young quarterbacks. Obviously the opponent was what it was, but I'm just curious, from the coach's eye, what did you see that you liked in particular that they showed against that opponent?
Yeah, I think they went out and they did their job, which is encouraging. Like you said, we had some advantages, but we didn't turn the football over. They didn't have a lot of, mistakes in terms of their reads or where to go with the football. We had a couple times we threw the ball on the perimeter. We shouldn't. We should have handed the football off. That's some things we got to get cleaned up because a couple of those were some negative plays that, we got to stay out of. We had a couple times the protection really broke down on once or twice. I think maybe we could have got the ball out and not taken the sack. But that's stuff that comes with reps. You're talking about a guy like Tyler who I think had 6 or 7 somewhere around there snaps, and Jake never before that. I thought overall they did a nice job of just being efficient, not trying to do too much, and just kind of do their job, get the ball out to people in space, and let them go make plays for them.
With Jake in particular, did you feel like maybe he needed to get going a little bit? It seemed like maybe his ball placement was off a little bit early on for him, and as the game progressed, maybe he got a little more comfortable.
I think Jake did fine. I think the way it kind of worked, Tyler had the 2 one-play drives, especially the second drive of the game. I think we hit Bouchard and kind of one play, and Jake's first drive, his very first pass was off. That's probably not the easiest first. That's where his read took him to throw the swing. That really wasn't why we called the play, but he can hit that throw and didn't. And then the post to Romello was underthrown. I think other than that, though, I think he threw the ball really well. And but I think it's understandable his first pass or two. I think once he calmed down, I think he did really well.
Coach, we'll go next to Chris Stock from InsideTheU. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, Coach, I was curious about Jalen Knighton. He served his suspension. Where does he kind of fit in? And if he does fit in, what does he bring to the offense? And also, Corey Gaynor, Justice Oluwaseun, were they injured? What's the kind of the prognosis with those guys? Do you hope to have them back this week if they're hurt?
Yeah, those guys are kind of day to day. We've got a bunch of guys right now that are that way, and we're just working them back in as we can. Talking about like Justice and Corey, and some of those guys we probably won't know later till game time. Of course, it's a short week too, so we don't have as much time as normal. With regards to Jalen, glad to have him back. That helps give us some depth at that position. He's available and fully expect him to play and make an impact. He's a guy that was competing for the starting job. So back in the spring and had a great fall camp too. So now that he's available, definitely expect him to be in the mix. He gives you some explosion, and he's a good football player. And had a freshman year last year, and we were really expecting big things coming into this year. So that'll be good to have him. I was really excited how Cody Brown and Thad Franklin ran the other day. They ran downhill, they ran physical, and so that was encouraging too.
Coach, we'll go next to Kobe Price from the Sun Sentinel. Kobe, go ahead.
Thanks, Cam. Hey, Rhett, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on?
Not much right now. Just hanging in. Wanted to ask about the young QBs. Go back to them. How, as game planning, how is it, kind of like preparing? They have kind of different styles. Obviously, Jake's a little bit more mobile, but not like Derek is, and Tyler, maybe not as mobile as Jake. How is it preparing for them from that standpoint, and also personality-wise? Like, they seem kind of very different personalities. You've been around a lot of different QBs in your career. Like, how is that, having that in the same locker room?
And Jake's tricked you guys if y'all think he's more mobile than Tyler, like that 45-yard run. They're very similar in the standpoint that you're right. They're not as mobile as Derek. They're not bad athletes. They're just not really runners. So from the actual X's and O's, there's certain things that maybe one does a little better than the other, vice versa. They have their strengths, but stylistically they're similar. I think definitely the personality thing, you're right on. They got different personalities. They're both great. Tyler's just, a lot more calm, even keel, same guy every snap, every day. Jake's a little bit more outgoing, flamboyant kind of personality, and they both are good. You got to be you as a quarterback to be a good leader and a good player. But, like I said, the fact that they both were able to play and in a way where they're playing like 2 series at a time or here or there, that's not easy to do. As a quarterback, it's like anybody else. You want to get in a rhythm. And there's a reason a lot of people don't play 2 quarterbacks, because it's hard if you're in and you're out and you're in and you're out. And so I thought they handled that for that really being their first game, and the fact that, Tyler played 2 series and Jake played 2 series. And most of the time it was 2-2. There was a couple times we went 1-1, but they did a good job of, when the other guy was in, standing back and watching. Because sometimes if I'm Jake, Tyler starts the game, I'm able to stand back and watch and kind of get a feel for things. I go in. Well, Tyler comes out. He's been out there playing, but now he can see it from a different perspective. Things slow down. And now when he goes back in, maybe he's got some better answers. It's almost, like being able to watch some film to some degree of what's going on in real time. And so I thought they both did a good job of trying to be mature and handle it that way, and did good things. If
I can follow up quickly on that, how have you seen the team, the offense really adjust, with more so the personalities and the style of play? Like, you have, Jake, who maybe, like you said, a little bit more outgoing, versus Tyler, who maybe a little bit more calm. How have you seen the team respond to that difference in them? Thanks.
I think they've done great. They know those guys. They've worked out with them and all that for Tyler, almost 2 years, for Jake, 8 or 9 months now. And so I think they don't care much about the personalities. They like them both. I think the thing they did well, especially the older guys, and they really encouraged them all week. They made sure those guys knew that they had their back, and then they went out and played that way. They went out and tried to do things. We throw one out probably in the opening drive we shouldn't. Mike Harley catches it, makes a guy miss, and bails him out. So I thought those guys did a good job of rallying around Tyler and Jake.
Coach, we'll go next to Mike Barber from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Mike, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I'm curious what you see. These guys gave up 14 points in their first 2 games and 96 in their last 2. Is it as simple as they were just playing better opponents, or have you seen something exposed in Virginia's defense?
It's a good question. I mean, they're typically a really physical, really stingy bunch. I mean, they really got the better of us last year. We were able to move the ball, but man, we didn't score any points, and they really just, I felt, they kind of took it to us offensively. So it's a great challenge for us because of what they were able to do to us last year. The North Carolina game, there were some outliers there. They were in position, and North Carolina made like 4 just, they threw a hitch and the guy takes it 70 yards for a touchdown. They hit a little RPO glance to the boundary. He takes it 70 for a touchdown. They threw 2 just incredible throws over the top that you maybe see like Patrick Mahomes make, to Tyreek Hill. So, and I think it kind of got away from them then. I don't think they were in bad position a lot of the time. And then, last week, I think like us, I mean, sometimes you play a team and they play really well. I think Wake played great. Wake didn't get anything easy. They had to grind it. There was a lot of long drives. So I thought, Virginia did a nice job of limiting the big plays that had got them the week before. And so I think they're trending in the right direction defensively for what they want to do. And like I said, I think they're a great challenge for us.
And if I could follow up real quick, I know they've done it in the past, but they seem to be dropping 5 a lot more, playing the 5 defensive backs, the 3-3-5 alignment, blitzing less, so getting less pressure. Do they look like a different defense schematically than a year ago, or is it not that dramatic?
I don't know if it's that dramatic. I think they're like anybody else. They've had the offseason to kind of tweak maybe some things here or there, or try to play to their personnel. But, I remember from a year ago, it's the same challenge as it is this year's. Their kind of identity is they got 2 different defenses. They've got an odd front defense, like you said, with 5 DBs, and then they got their 4-down defense. And there's some similarities that they do schematically, I think, probably to help them out. But that's a challenge as an offense. When you go into a game and from drive to drive, they could be in a different defense, or from play to play. It's hard sometimes to really get maybe your bearings on what they're doing. Whereas if you go into a game knowing they play this defense or they play this defense, it's a little bit easier. So I think that's one of the things that makes them a really unique challenge and hard to prepare for. And I think they do a good job with it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, we got a few more for you. We're going to go to Manny Navarro from The Athletic. Manny, go ahead.
Hey, Rhett.
Hey, Manny.
Going to ask you about those freshman receivers that everybody loves to ask you about. They obviously look really, really good on Saturday. Brashard just showed you the explosiveness. I know you lined him up in the backfield for a couple plays. I think you pitched it to him once.
Yeah.
Just curious, could you use him as a runner out of the backfield more often going forward? And then with Romello, has he gotten to a point now where maybe you consider him, a guy that's going to be a regular in the rotation?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I think really since the Michigan State game, Romello played almost half the time, and he did the other day too. So yeah, to me, I look at Romello and Keyshawn like I look at Harley and X, and they're, like I said, they're co-starters. We try to rotate those guys, keep them fresh throughout the game. But that catch Romello made was incredible. He made some really good plays the week before. So I think you can start to see that, he's a smart kid. Things are really starting to slow down. He understands what we're doing. He's adjusted to the college game. And, we think he's going to do nothing but keep getting better. Richard, had planned to get him in the app game more than we did. That game, the way it went, it didn't work that way. And then, got him in a little bit against Michigan State, really probably needed to do a little bit more. And so it wasn't as much even about who we were playing. The plan was always to keep bringing Richard along because you see the playmaking ability, the explosion, and the versatility he gives. But the great thing about him is he's a receiver. And so you can keep him in the game and run your base offense. And, he does have some running back skills once he gets the ball in his hand. He's not really a running back, but you saw what he can do with the ball in his hand. So that does allow you to maybe play around and use him a variety of different ways. And then I thought Jacoby George, really stepped in and made a great post route, great catch. And we think he's going to keep coming on as well.
Thanks.
Coach, we got Susan Miller-Degnan from the Miami Herald. Susan, go ahead.
Hi, Rhett.
Hey.
The offensive line played about a dozen players Saturday. How do you think Ja'Kai Clark did at center? Just some specifics on him. And I know there were 4 freshmen: Seymour McLaughlin, if I'm saying it right, Rodriguez, Isaiah Walker. Just who did well among those guys, and Ja'Kai in particular. And I wanted to ask you something about the running, about Thad Franklin and the runners. And
Okay. I thought for his first game, at center, I thought Ja'Kai did a really nice job. I mean, we think Ja'Kai could be naturally a really good center. We felt that way really since we got here. And, I think his freshman year, he played guard out of, necessity. And last year it was kind of the same deal. And he was banged up to start the season. But he's been rotating at center and guard, but a lot more center this fall for us already. And honestly, for his first game, I thought he did really well. That's not easy to do. And I think he'll continue to get nothing but better at that position. He's really athletic. He's really smart. I just think he did a good job for his first game. I think the young guys, definitely when they got in there, they did some good stuff from Isaiah Walker to Rodriguez to we call him Big Baby Seymour and McLaughlin. It was good to see a lot of those guys in game situations. They work hard just like everybody else. That's how you develop guys. And what we were able to see is those guys, all 4, we think have the ability to develop into good football players, which is, how you keep your offensive line in your program going in the right direction. You bring in the right guys, you develop them, and when it's their time, they're ready to roll. And we think those guys, all 4, have the promise that they need to have. You said something about the running backs.
Yeah, the running backs and it just seems like it would be very hard to gauge, how their performance was against an outsized and lower profile competitor like CCSU. That has to be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that is fair. I think you're looking at 2 guys that, for the most part, I know Cody got in a few plays, but that's their first college action. For the fact that they were able to come in and run downhill and run physical and not make mistakes, and the moment wasn't too big for them, I think that's a really good sign. That's the beauty about being a running back. You hand them the ball and it's like, hey, run where they're not. And it doesn't matter if it's high school, junior high, or college. Some of that carries over, just the speed's a little different. So your opponent matters to some degree, but if you're doing it on air, you still got to do it right. And they went out and they did the things right, and they played, and then ran the football the way we need our running backs to run the football downhill. There's a lot to improve on. They're still freshmen. And to your point, we're going to play some really good people starting Thursday. But I think, again, when you look at for the future, Thad showed he's got some ability, big physical downhill back, just like we thought coming out of high school. And then I thought Cody ran the ball real physical as well.
Coach, last one for you. We got Daryl Streeter from Footballville. Daryl, go ahead for Coach Lashlee.
Coach, how you doing? My question is there a change in play calling depending on which quarterback is in because of their different strengths?
Yeah, I think always you've got to, kind of within your system, tailor to what that quarterback does well or what they like. There may be a few concepts we do that Derek really likes that, maybe a Tyler or Jake, they can run and they're fine at it. But if they're your starter, they actually like this and this a little bit better, or they're just, and I think that's coaching. I think, trying to develop your guys and make them where they're as good as they can be at everything. But you're going to build what you do around your quarterback, and or you should, and because your quarterback has to have success for you to move the football and score. And so those guys are all three good players, but they're all three different. And so to the question earlier, Tyler and Jake are more similar, to each other than they are to Derek. And so that's when you're playing those two. You don't have to necessarily totally change it. But, yeah, there may be a few calls in the back of your mind when this guy's in, I'll maybe like better because he likes it more, or this guy, if that makes sense. And so, I don't think you'll see like a different offense or a different style. But, yeah, we'll try to tailor to those guys' strengths and what they're most comfortable with and what they do best.